Shaun Simmons, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Thank you for coming all the way from Nampa. I know it's a haul. Did you hit commuter traffic?
A little bit. It wasn't too bad coming this way. But
Good, good, good. So look, you're running for city council of Nampa. Just asking you briefly, like why? And it really sounds like there are some things that you really like. There's some things that you don't love that much. Talk to me about why you're running.
well, I guess the main reason I'm running is I'd like to see certain things done differently than how it's currently being ran. Um, Mostly, I think there needs to be more public input on a lot of issues. We've been lacking in that area. I think the citizens are kind of upset with a lot of the growth, the impacts that happen as regards to new subdivisions being built, uh, and I think just planning a little bit would go a long way.
I dig. Talk to me about growth. This has got to be in all areas. It'd be Caldwell, Nampa, everyone's worried about growth. Talk to me about growth and planning more appropriately.
Well, growth is an opportunity, and I support that. It's going to bring in businesses and jobs. But as a Idaho native, I was born in Boise, saw a lot of the growth. Moved out to Nampa about 10 years ago. And in the past 5 years, I've seen Nampa grow and grow. I've heard a lot of candidates talk about, we need to preserve this, but yet nothing seems to change. Um, and I just think that someone actually ought to implement that, mean what they say. I'm not a politician. This is my first time doing any kind of recorded interview or anything like that. So appreciate having me on.
Of course, man. So preserving what's there. This is a big question because look, I didn't grow up here. You were lucky to grow up here. Fantastic. I didn't, right? So when I come in and I start thinking about, hey, I want to help preserve. I try to not be those people. It's like, I want to keep Idaho. It's like, you've been here 10 minutes. But for you, what I want to know is like, what does that mean for you? Like when you're talking about keeping, preserving Nampa, the Nampa, the Nampa that, you grew up with, going to, and then eventually moved to, like, what does that mean for you? What's involved and what does that look like?
Well, for me, it wasn't that long ago where a lot of people seem to know everybody.
Mm.
Um, you had conversations with neighbors pretty regular basis. When they'd go out of town, you'd water their plants for them, pick up
Sure.
their mail, watch their dog, whatever it was. It was a very friendly, small community vibe type of deal. I'd say native Idahoans are, I guess the best way to describe it is like rugged individuals. Um, they don't mind a lot of change, but it seems like it kind of pushes us into a shell. Um, and I think that's where you get a lot of comments about, people moving from California, all those blank and white Californians moving here, ruining Idaho. Uh, I think there's enough room for everybody here, and I appreciate anyone who wants to move to Idaho for the reasons of what makes Idaho a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. Um, it's beautiful scenery. There's a lot of good things. And I guess what I'm trying to get at with preserving that would be strategically thinking how this growth affects the people. Not so much on a level of it's impacting our roads. Obviously, that upsets a lot of people when they get backed up in traffic because they just built an apartment complex on a 2-lane road, and down the road they built 5 new subdivisions. So there's that aspect of it that needs to be planned out, as well as making sure utilities are up to date and that they're going to be able to handle all those people. But I think it comes down more to listening to the citizens about what they want to preserve. What is the aspect? Like when a new building comes up, what images, come up? Like you see a big apartment complex, and if it looks like a giant, chicken coop, does that feel like the Nampa we knew? Is it, if they're all cookie cutter subdivisions and every house looks the same, painted the same color, is there, what drives that feeling in our individual citizens?
Gotcha. You brought up roads. Now, roads are probably one of the most frequently talked about issues within Nampa. People feel like they're potholes or they're not big enough. Traffic in general, right? What do you think about dealing with traffic and roads in Nampa?
I think it's just constant road work, especially in the summertime. Spring to fall, it's all road work, which is good to see, because it's like, well, finally they're going to widen this road to accommodate this, and then all of a sudden you see 5 more apartment complexes come up near the same area, and it's like, shouldn't they have widened this like double what they're doing right now? So I guess we'll see how it looks once they're done. But in some ways, I think it's it needs to be under a little bit more scrutiny, especially if there's time constraints. So it's like, if you approve this, then shouldn't the roads be started before that building is up and the people have already moved in? Just things like that, I think, need a little bit more scrutiny.
Gotcha. Talk to me about businesses downtown, because this is also one of the big things people are talking about, that, Nampa has grown in population, but it hasn't grown to have a destination, right? A place that really, similar to Meridian or similar to Caldwell. And talk to me about building up an area of economic prosperity.
Well, I think that also starts with listening to some small business owners in the Nampa area. What do they want to see? What kind of opportunities do they think would help drive them and attract more business? Working with nonprofits, try to see where the drive is, maybe even trying to attract certain businesses that we lack. Is there a specific business that if it was located locally in Nampa, would that attract more businesses?
Like a magnet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think just having those conversations with anyone that has a stake in that, be worthwhile.
Gotcha. Man, the number one thing in Nampa right now is the CWI Idaho Ford Center wrangle. There are a lot of people on all sides of this one. What do you think about the whole situation?
Well, I think, like a lot of citizens, and this was one of the reasons why I decided to run, was it was kind of a shot in the dark, I felt. Just out of the sudden, the council says, oh, we're thinking about transferring ownership to CWI. Okay. And we've gotten a little back and forth. They've done some appraisals and they got a meeting coming up. Sounds like, who knows if it'll be resolved by then. As a citizen and as a candidate, I feel like they should have planned this out more. They should have thought about it. They should have come up with plans. Like, this is what we're doing and why. If you don't want that, then we got this. Get public input. And honestly, it involves millions of dollars of that the citizens of Nampa own. So when it comes down to it, I personally think that it should end up being a ballot measure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody just this morning about that. It's like, why not just put it on the ballot and make it so it's like, hey, if we keep it, we're going to have to pass. Would you like to keep it and have a levy for this amount? Right? Or whatever the amount that you think is appropriate for people. And they can decide, okay, we want to absorb this additional cost and keep the asset, or I don't want to pay $500 for the cake. I'm not keeping the cake, and move it away. But, the number one thing that people talk about is the cost associated with it.
Right. I think there's a lot of options. Maybe they retain ownership as a city and have CWI run it.
There you go.
And maybe they can use those profits that they generate to help support students, or I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of different options, and you got a real messy side to where it doesn't sound like anyone's going to be happy no matter what they decide. And that's why I support a ballot measure to where majority rules. And, we have representative democracy where we elect council members to make decisions. But when it's something that big, I think it should be a ballot measure to where somebody can actually exercise their say on that specific big issue.
I got you. Talking about population growth, what do you think should be done to population growth or interest in Nampa is driving up cost of housing, right? Like everybody, just like the entire Treasure Valley, costs are going up. And yeah, there are supply chain and inflation problems, but costs are going up because this is a great place to live, right? Like I moved here from out of state. I'm part of the population problem, and I recognize, but the flip side of that is, okay, well, you can build and accommodate people in different ways, including infilling, right? You can build up with higher density. You can do a number of different things. Is there any big piece that you feel like the city is currently missing out on that could help alleviate that supply issue?
You talking housing supply?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you talk about, affordable housing options. I'm for that. I believe that we should strive to make our communities affordable for everyone who lives there. There's a lot of options as far as how you can go about that. Maybe you could help developers drive down costs, perhaps cutting red tape, bureaucracy in city council, applying for permits, impact fees. I'm a supporter of impact fees, but they have to be fair. They have to be across the board. There shouldn't be any surprises. I think they should be regulated and scrutinized to make sure that there's the people that live there are not having to fit the bill, and including business owners that have long time been a part of the city, that have been long established. I think just trying to partner with nonprofits. Nampa's got a huge homeless problem. It's not very noticeable, but from, I think the last study was around 2020, 2021, Nampa had one of the highest homeless rates for school students.
Within like Nampa school district?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, man, that's rough. I know that there's the Boise rescue mission with Reverend Bill Roscoe. Is that, or do you have analogous or similar organizations out in Nampa?
Um, well, I worked for the rescue mission for a little while,
Oh,
for about 4
fantastic.
years. Bill Roscoe's a great guy.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him on roughly 2 months ago. I mean, every time I talk to him, it's like, good Lord, I'm quite a bit taller than he is, but I feel tiny around him. He does some incredible things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they call those people spiritual giants.
very much so. Very much so. So is there an analogous kind of organization out there?
One of the biggest ones right now is Salvation Army. Um, they're trying to accommodate a lot of housing needs out there. The rescue mission did have one out there, men's homeless shelter. I still believe that they have like transitional housing out there and a couple other ways to help the community. But I think long term, and quite possibly trying to partner with them, or at least maybe another nonprofit to see about getting some services out here, or at least directing people to where they could go for help.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Talk to me about law enforcement
Um, in
in Nampa. That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry. That was a terrible question. It wasn't even a question. It's just like, talk to me. Yeah, but I mean,
I can talk about that for a long time.
oh yeah.
It's
I mean, it is a big thing. It's like, this is a very conservative state. Nampa has a wonderful history of stewardship and not wasting taxpayer dollars, making the most of what you can. And funding for law enforcement is always something that is a topic for people. So again, what do you think about the current state of law enforcement in Nampa, the funding, the support, all of it?
I think that's one aspect that's always well looked at, and I continue to support our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, all that.
Yeah.
I think it's improved drastically in the past 10, 15 years. A lot of that credit goes to Canyon County Sheriff Donahue and Nampa PD Chief Huff. I think they did a great job policing our streets and keeping their agencies relevant. And they've turned their agencies into pretty incredible examples of what community policing should look like.
Gotcha. Shaun, we've talked about a number of things already: growth, infrastructure, business development, Fort Idaho Center, law enforcement, homeless, which is something that nobody else has really touched on. I appreciate that. What are we missing?
Well, I think one of my drives is as a candidate, I'm going the more grassroots approach. I'm not taking donations. So being on your show and getting exposure is big.
Of course, of course.
Basically, I'd like to see a Nampa that's more in the know, each citizen. I don't believe that we should be surprised by our city council and what our elected officials are going to do. I think that we should be well informed of any potential problems before they vote on anything. That way we get a chance to say our 2 cents. I think there's a number of ways that they could improve communication, possibly looking into more of a social media presence, utilizing new technologies. I'd even be for maybe every quarter or every other month or something, hosting a city hall, an extra meeting on a weekend for those that work during the week and can't attend. I'm a strong believer that each citizen should feel that they have a voice especially when it comes down to the city that you live in. I mean, that's your space. That's your reality.
Right.
I mean, things can always go crazy in the world or somewhere else in the United States, but we want to feel like we're grounded and that we have a proactive and respectful government that realizes that the city is made up of the citizens.
I dig. I was actually talking to somebody out of Caldwell just today about the need for social media engagement and communication. Social media gets a bad name, and it has earned every single ounce of that. But it's also, if used correctly, such an effective tool for mass communication. You just have to know how to use it. And dude, it's not like sending out an email blast. It's like something you got to cultivate over a long period of time. But again, if done properly, I agree with you. It's like, look, you can reach so many more people if you're engaging on social media properly.
Right. On that point, like you said, it's earned its reputation.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's a tool just like anything else. It can be used for good or evil. It's all about who's wielding it.
Yeah, right. Right, for sure. I appreciate that. And it sounds like a big cornerstone of what you're talking about is calling out for citizen education and participation and a better means of engaging the citizenry with the administration, because it can't be. There was a mayor in the last few years in this place, in this area, that had a coffee with the mayor, and I thought that was a great idea. And we're like, awesome, except it was like 9:30 on Wednesday, and no shade on him for attempting to have an open forum where it's like 9:30 to 10:30 every Wednesday. You come sit down with the mayor, drink coffee, have a conversation. But what I found, I never actually went because, one, I wasn't, in the city. But also what I found out from people that were going, they're like, look, man, it's the same 7 people, because the average citizen is out working at 9:30 on a Wednesday, and they're not taking, PTO to go sit down with the mayor. So it became this. It was an attempted outreach, but it was also, kind of dead on arrival, where it's like, you're not going to reach the majority of the citizenry or even have a shot at reaching a chunk of them, a reasonable chunk of them, in this way. So I'm constantly an advocate for government departments and the government in general. It's like, you gotta figure out a way to communicate more effectively where people are. So yeah, man, I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. That's something I'm passionate about. I think that's the only way that citizens can actually have a say is when there's those communications and between their elected officials and the citizens. Without it, people just go, oh, they passed that. Did you hear that? Oh, did you hear that they did this? Why did they do that? And, no one's ever really satisfied. No one's ever really happy. But if you can get people engaged in a process and feel like they have a say in it, and then majority rules, well, at least we can look back and say, well, I didn't get what I wanted, but I got a little bit of what I wanted.
Sure. Yeah. Do we have anything else on the table? I like what we've talked about so far. Missing anything?
We've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we did, man. Covered a lot of things. Some things I haven't talked with anybody else about, which I appreciate. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming all the way out here. I really do. Thank you for running. Right. Obviously, we need people that are willing to stand up and bring issues forward. I had a conversation with somebody. I'm not going to tell who it was. The person's running for city council. And afterwards, I was chatting with her, and she was like, I run, and things don't, this particular individual hadn't ever been elected. But the sentiment was, I get to bring my issues to the table. And almost always after the campaign and the election season, things that I bring to the table are integrated. And it's, this person's kind of way of participating in the administrative and governance process, even though never actually elected to office. And I had such an appreciation for that. So, no matter what, people bringing issues forward, even your articulation about need for better communication or different types of communication, it's like, yeah, man, what if like that stuff gets enacted and it's because you brought it up? I mean, so again, win, lose or draw, I just appreciate that you're willing to throw your hat in the ring, and, running a campaign's never fun, I can imagine.
Oh, it's definitely outside my wheelhouse. That's for sure. Don't know whether I'm coming or going, but it's all about, you got to go out and do what you can do. If, the people want to elect me, great. If not, I'll go back doing what I was doing. I have no stakes in it really. So I just want to implement some change. And if I'm the one to do it, great. If somebody else can take up the candle, great.
That's great too. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I don't have to be the one, but somebody's got to do it. It's either me or you. Somebody just get it done. You'll be happy.
Yeah, I'll be happy then.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for what you're doing, sir. Thanks for coming in, and we'll do it again.
I appreciate it.